Today we are going to explore the book C6 Opening Repertoire for Black. This book came out in 2017 and it's a kind of collaboration between two authors. One is Lakdawala and the other is Kiewra. I don't know if I pronounce well his name, it's kind of difficult, sorry. The idea comes out from the fact that Lakdawala says, one day Kiewra said, what miss from my game to reach GM level? Because Kiewra has already 2 GM norms. And Lakdawala said, look, the real problem is your opening repertoire. Why? Because, he said, you are very sharp. You play lines that are or kill or be killed. And that sometimes doesn't work in the grandmaster norm world. And he made a few examples of players that discover that they need to have something more throwish, especially with black, in order to cut out the possibility that white makes point. And so they came out with a repertoire based on 2 players that play the Caro-Kann and the kind of semi-Slav, okay? So here we start to see the Caro-Kann classical variation, okay? What is the Caro-Kann classical variation? It's after e4, c6, d4, d5, okay, knight c3, and d takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop f5. So in this 4th video we see this. Then we will explore all the other possible Caro-Kann variations. And then we will see also the semi-Slav, okay? So let's see the game format of this. Okay, just a second because here we go. The player that is the model here is Keaton. Keaton is a famous player, and let me show you why. He wrote a book that I really love, and now I'm going to show it to you. Sorry, I couldn't find it. I will try to find it another time. In any case, we have this game from the European Championship of 2001 between Fedorchuk and Keaton. This is the starting position of a classical variation where black obviously chase the centralized knight in this square that sometimes is less effective, not really, honestly. But Lakdawala has written so many books that you cannot imagine. He covered this one in the Caro-Kann move by move. So in case one wants to see also that book, there is that possibility. Why do I say that? Because sometimes at club level they know what you are answering. So it's better if you prepare at least 2 possible answers. So you take them kind of out of their preparation, especially when is maybe the last round and you want to win and you don't want them to be prepared and make a kind of surprise on you, right? Okay, so after this, no, it's not this. Yes, it's that. Okay. After bishop f5, there is knight g3, which is the main response, but in the book they will also look at this knight c5, which is an interesting thing. and eventually I will make a video also for that. So at this move you generally go back. This is a normal Caro-Kann. H4 attacks immediately this, because then it doesn't have any way to go anywhere, and so black needs to do a decision. Very easy. Generally this is the move played. I played the Caro-Kann for a while because I was tired of the French with this bishop that was always inside, and then I also returned to the French after a while. Knight f3, knight d7, and here there is h5. Also, this series of books is based on questions and answers, like most of the books written by Lakdawala. Here there is Keaton, that is the name of Kiewra, that asks, what are black's compensating factors for white's space advantage? Because you needed to accept this fact that black is already cramped, and white space advantage generally create possibilities. Cyrus says the following: the h5 pawn in the middle game, a potential attacking tool, may in late middle games and endings degenerate into a target for black. With every pawn push, weak squares are left behind. Of course, this is all under the assumption that black won't get mated in the middle game. And this is true because in the beginning, in the Caro-Kann, you are under pressure. So you must like that kind of pressure, okay? So here what can you do? Bishop h7. So these moves are all kind of very easy to remember because they are logical. So what does white do at this point? This bishop has moved many times. 1, 2, 3. So you have used 3 tempi, and what do you think white wants to do? White wants to take away that bishop, because so he has gained 3 tempi, and he plays bishop d3. And this is the interesting part, right? Because you understand the difference. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, you say, okay, I'm still 1 tempo down. But if you take away these 2, then we are really at an advantage for white as development. However, the thing is that this advantage is not really going anywhere at the moment. However, in the book it says white eliminates black's most active piece. However, this move also helps black, since white violates the principle the side with more space should avoid swaps. There are good reasons for the violation, since white benefits in 2 ways. Black's light square bishop is our most active piece. White gets a free queen jump to d3, which prepare the queenside castling. And black moves his light square bishop 3 times after 9 bishop takes d3. So, okay, this is what I just told you practically. So, the only other move is this. At this point, bishop takes d3. And, of course, there is queen takes d3, like Lakdawala said. Okay. So, what do you think black is doing at this point? Black is going to play something that needs to develop the other pieces, right? And of course this is the move e6, so he can bring out the bishop. By the way, I just realized that I have the black pieces on my side. Generally I put them on that side, so I will swap the board right now to help you see better, okay? because you want to learn this repertoire for black. However, this is how you would learn from the book, because in the book all the diagrams are from the white side. And that's a little absurd for me, because if I want to teach you a black repertoire, they should swap the orientation of a diagram from the black side. Okay, I swap the position on the board, and so I want to show you that it's kind of easy to remember, because most moves are just kind of logical, right? After knight c3, you take the central pawn, take back, attack. You have to move it. It goes here, attack, defend again, knight f3, knight d7, because you need to bring it out right away, h5, this, oh, and we are in the position where I pause the video, and now black needs to develop, right? So he needs to move that pawn. So what's the difference now with the French? That this bishop, the bad bishop, is not there anymore. So that's the reason of the Caro-Kann. It came out from the need of having that bishop swapped in a certain way. So what does white do at this point? No? White plays bishop d2, which prevents queen a5. Okay? But in this book they will cover also bishop f4, and eventually I will cover it in another video. Now, what should black do at this point? He plays knight g f6, and here again there is still this idea of Keaton asking. Notice that Keaton is strong as Lakdawala, because both of them are international masters, I think, with grandmaster norms. What kind of plans should black be thinking about? And Cyrus says some of black ideas. Black most aggressive option is to simply play bishop e7 and castle short, and go for opposite side attack, because white will castle long. Okay, so that's the idea. And there is a book written, not the book, in this book they will plan on this, because they show you Ken games based on that idea. But black can also wait for white to play knight e4, okay, and then play knight takes e4, queen takes e4, and then queen d5, which threaten practically this and this once there is the castling. So there is another possibility, okay? And then there is a fourth option that they say they will not cover, which is when black is castling long, okay? Because he says they are more ambitious. So in the beginning of the book he told us that it was important to have a not very sharp repertoire, but in this case he's trying to give us something sharp. So how does white continue here? Here there are few alternatives. In the book they examine this castle, but white can play queen e2 or even c4. Let's see queen e2, okay? Bishop e7, castle again, and look that the position now kind of resemble this French Rubinstein variation. But there is again a huge difference with the Rubinstein variation. In the Rubinstein, the problem is again this bishop here. It doesn't exist now. Since it doesn't exist, you have already the file open to attack. No? And so that's what I tell you is the beauty of the Caro-Kann. Okay? Because now c5, boom. And what do? Because if you open the file for white, white will get a big advantage, right? So you don't want to do that. And notice also another point of black. Black still hasn't castled. He wants to castle on that side, the king side, but he still didn't do it. So white probably will try to do something like rook h4 because he wants to open the center and attack there, right? In this case, black once more doesn't tell what he wants to do and puts the queen there, no? Waiting for white, like he told you. What is white going to do? And white at that point plays knight e4. Because as you can see, every time you move something and you move a pawn, you create some weaknesses. No? The h2, h4, h5 created this weakness, this c6 and e6 created this weakness. So there are weaknesses that sometimes can be exploited. Okay, here at this point, black castle. White exchange, and now we need to start the attack, g4. And here the last move given in the book is knight h7, because it says with even chances, since with center opening and a white g5 break difficult to achieve, black king looks relatively safe. And this was taken by a game played between Gashimov and Barev in Moscow in 2009. So, by the way, notice that after play this, this is attack, so it's a kind of problem. It's an interesting position, but clearly has for both sides possibilities. Now, let's return back to the position where white castle. Again, I tell you, try to, if you never played the Caro-Kann, that's why I play over a board, because if you are a tournament player, you will play over the board, so you need to remember the moves. I honestly remember them well because for me they are kind of logical and I have played them a few times. But if you don't, you have a problem, okay? By the way, in reality, Bologan made a video course on e5 saying that this was strategically won for white. I am sure that Lakdawala will issue or will address that issue in another game, and I will show it to you in the video because that's something which is important to know. So as you can see, I don't have problem in remembering the moves because they are kind of logical, okay? If you play this, so no big deal. Tac, 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 tac. And now what do? You have to remember that you want to develop, right? So these are the move that you should remember, but you remember them because they are logical, okay? So after bishop d2, what do? You generally bring out your knight, okay? And after bringing out the knight, what do? What do you think that white will do? white will definitely castle because he wants to attack. No? And white has also finished at this point the development. So we saw, however, what happens if white plays queen e2. Now let's see another interesting thing, because I think this is much more violent than castling or queen e2, which is c4. So why c4 is kind of more violent in my opinion? Because he keeps the king in the center and he doesn't tell you where he wants to go, while he's fighting for more squares. No? So black continue the development. Bishop e7, knight e4, and here Lakdawala says this seems more accurate, yeah. But let's see, after knight e4 there is castle, and here it gives me this move. It doesn't make any sense, this move, in my opinion. Why I don't think it makes sense? Because you have weakened the white side, but yet it seems the plan is always to attack on there. No? But here, I mean, that's why I don't like it, because in the book it gives this move, but this move makes much more sense. No? Why that move makes much more sense? Because it tries to open immediately the file in front of a king, no? And here they give a line which is knight takes f6, knight takes f6, and knight e5. So as you can see, white obviously doesn't accept the offer, because that would be a little silly to accept that offer. So what can black play here? Here it says b takes c4 is a good move, queen takes e4, queen b6, knight takes c6, and then there is knight d5. And the evaluation is with excellent play on the open queenside files for the pawn. So yes, did you give back a pawn? Yes, but I mean, look at this. Instead, white has a lot of tempi that he needs to use in order to be able to create an attack. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to the line with c4 and see what is that Lakdawala gives in this case. Okay, I go back like this. As always in the books with openings, you really need to be able to remember a lot of variation, or at least be kind of exposed to the ideas, so maybe you will not remember them, but at least you have seen it in action. Okay, so I think this was the position where we started the c4, so there was bishop e7, knight e4, castle, and here I told you I honestly prefer this, because in the opening it doesn't matter when you sacrifice a pawn. The important thing is to open the lines in order to attack, because your goal is to give checkmate, not to gain material. But Lakdawala gives this as a main line, okay? After which white move the king here because obviously c4, in my opinion, has weakened the thing a lot, which is followed by this. And here, can you imagine, there is a mistake. What is the mistake? The correct move is this, but this that seems so natural is a mistake. So let's see why it's a mistake. If you want, guys, at this point you should already try to pause the video and think what you would play if you were black or red. So the move is this, knight e5, after which there is knight takes f6, bishop takes f6, queen e4, knight takes c4, bishop c3, and queen b6. And it seems that here white probably resigned. It was a game played between Laborde and Barev in 2007. So Barev is a player that has this kind of c6 repertoire. Apply. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So let's now go back because there is another alternative that it was not c4 and queen e2 that maybe you are interested in seeing, okay? So let me go back to the position. Okay. Oops. So practically, this position that you see here is what we would call a tabia, okay? Is what from this point actually really there is a big amount of branches, okay? So the move we didn't see is this one. So we saw c4, right? We saw the castle, but we still didn't see how the game goes in castling. And we saw also queen e2, okay? And now we see this knight e4. So as you can see, there are few alternatives. On c4, we saw that, in my opinion, this is interesting, but he gives this as main. So up to you guys. On queen e2, we saw that he didn't immediately castle, but he just played bishop e7 to create a kind of wall between the queen and the thing. And now we see what happens after this, okay? So let's see what happens. Knight takes e4, queen takes e4, knight f6, and now he has to go back. Honestly, I think this already looks drawish. Why? Because they exchange a lot of pieces, and guess what? And now black plays queen d5. Obviously, queen d5 cannot really stay there because there is c4, and so queen e4. And after you exchange the queens, you find yourself with a kind of draw. Here the players in fact agreed to a draw, and it was played between Kurajika and Dizwarevich in 2006. But again, you should try to play it against a computer, because the computer will not allow you to draw very, very easily. So you discover, in case you are playing against a higher rated player with white that made this strange move, 94, that exchange everything, well, you discover that the white player doesn't want a draw and he continues to play. So what is the problem in this case? That you think psychologically that you have a draw and you have not, and you're going to lose. So that's why I tell you, positions like this are kind of dangerous, okay? Because you can find yourself in trouble psychologically, more than ever. Okay, let's go back. I think we were in this position, if I remember well. Yep, and white finally played the castle. Okay, bishop e7 and knight e4 once more. Here Keaton asks, white clears the pathway for a future g4 and g5. So that's the reason of knight e4. As you can see, here there is a contradiction, right? I told you that white gained a tempo exchanging the light square bishop here, because he made 1, 2, 3, and 4. But also this knight, he went 1, 2, 3. So also this knight has some kind of problems in a sense, right? In any case, Keaton asks, okay, since white plays this move with the idea of g4 and g5, and this is what you must remember, not the moves by memory, like they tell you in chessable that you should memorize the thing. You need to remember what is the reason that he played this, because he wants to play this. And once you know that you need to neutralize it. So here Keaton asks, I'm sorry, he played this, that's the idea, am I going to really castle on that side? That doesn't make sense, no? And Cyrus says, in this book, that is our plan. Current theory says that black's counter chances are fully even in the coming opposite wing attacks. Trust in our counter-attacking chance. Okay, and so he plays castle. And here it says, Keaton, doesn't white enjoy a spatial edge in the ending? And Cyrus says, white may own extra territory, but I'm not sure it offers him an edge. Black trumps in the position which balances things out. Okay, I don't know why Cyrus mentioned trumps, but okay, since he doesn't like him. Black threatens to win the exchange, which white must address. Black may exchange a knight for bishop and hope to enter a favorable bishop versus knight endgame with a better pawn structure. And never forget that the white pawn h5 is a potential weakness in most endings. Okay? But here they tell you also another thing. If you don't like this thing of opposite side attack, one attack on this side, the other attack on this, which is typical Sicilian, no? There is the possibility to play this, knight takes e4. I honestly will not show you this line because I do believe that you must play for opposite side attack. Okay. Why do I believe that? Because the Caro-Kann can be sharp. You can make points, and you should make points. Okay. Now, here there are two possibilities. One is knight takes f6 and king b1. Knight takes f6 is shown in this game, that is Fedorchuk against Kenkin. In the next game, Cyrus will show you king b1, okay? So, knight takes f6, knight takes f6, and knight e5. Here it says, Keaton, what is white intent with this last move? So practically, you see, this idea of this book is a book of questions between Keaton, Kiewra, an international master that want to go for the final grandmaster norm, and Cyrus Lakdawala, that is an expert in the opening, thanks to the so many books that he has written, that is giving a Keaton a repertoire, right? And so they thought, let's make a book so we can make some money out of it. Okay. Cyrus says, white play for a kingside pawn storm with f4, g4, g5. Okay. How should black counter this plan? And Cyrus says, we in turn must go with a principle, meet a wing attack with a vigorous central counter. So c5 looks as black's best option. But black can also play queen d5, okay? And eventually then there is c4. So what he says, instead of knight e5, what if white plays g4 right away? Now guys, you must be careful. That's why I always tell you the date of the book. The book was made in 2017. I think it was 2019 when Alpha Zero came out, if I remember well, and Alpha Zero killed Stockfish in that match behind closed door. Now, so be careful here, because it's possible that what Cyrus tell you is not working anymore. Because he says we should accept it, because he asked, what if white plays this right away? And he says you should accept it, but this kind of line should be checked out, because maybe Stockfish 17 has a different opinion. I'm not using it because again we are at move like 15, and I don't know if you can remember all this stuff. However, let's try, okay? Here white goes with queen e2 because it covers f2, okay? And why it's important queen e2? Because now black cannot play this, because white will take. Sorry, black cannot play that, right? So what does white play here? Sorry, black play here. King h8, no? So he avoids possible attack on this. There is this, knight f6, and knight e5. So once more you can see that giving a pawn away is a good thing because it opens the line, okay? And here there is queen d5. So he centralizes the queen and attacks this. Here he plays this. This starts to be kind of interesting. Queen e3. why is this move interesting? And that's why I think you guys should study the opening, because in some ways they can teach you a lot. For example, now let's say that white plays again. Oops, and it's practically game over. Okay, because you see that there is also this, it's over. So queen e3, it's really dangerous, but as you can see, they tell you don't study the opening because it's important the endgame, and it's true, but at the same time you will never reach the endgame if you don't you are not careful with this kind of tricks, right? So try to be kind of aware of the problem. Now, you don't really want to do this because you will not have the time to enjoy it. Because once you play this, there is this. So this guy is going to escape and you are not. You are not, because next thing will be rook takes g7, right? So, like I told you, it's not important to give up a pawn if there is a kind of interesting plan. And here, black should play this, trying obviously to bring the forces back toward the king side that is heavily under attack. But obviously white doesn't exchange the queens, giving you an advantage, right? And so what do? Here you do knight takes h5, queen h2, and once more you try to exchange the queens because they are kind of bad, right? So bishop takes h4 and rook here. So what do you do now? You have to defend. Knight f3, knight g7, and of course knight takes h4. And white here regain the sacrifice pawns, right? G takes h4, bishop takes h6, rook g8. And here there is bishop g5, very interesting move. Knight f5, and bishop takes h4. Knight takes h4. And the king goes here. And also here the players agreed to a draw. So in this case, black was the lower rated player and scored a huge upset. Now, do you want to know what the names? White was Wesley Saw, and in black was Vidit. That is this player that today I think is in the 2700, right? So obviously he was maybe lower rated in the time, but it wasn't really lower rated. Okay, so now let's return back, since we were in this position. We went quite ahead a lot, but at least you saw this kind of trick which can happen in the game, and you are aware now of what could happen in your own game, right? Because that's what is going to happen in your own game. So I think we started from here, and yeah, and we saw if instead of this white plays this, and that was kind of exciting, an exciting ride. But this is the move that is to play. What is white plan? Now the white plan is to do that, but with a little more preparation, right? So maybe using f4, so being sure that it works. c5. So as you can see, why it's important to study the opening, not because you need to memorize like in chessable, but because you see some patterns. In this opening, there is this constant challenge to this e5 outpost. In order to challenge the e5 outpost, you must challenge the one that keep safe the outpost for white, and that is the pawn d4. Okay? It takes, and what do you do now? In order to regain the pawn correctly, you have to play this move. And I'm giving you time if you want to pause and think and see what you would play. Queen c7. But here there is Keaton that says, didn't you say earlier that it is in black's best interest to swap queens? And Cyrus says, black would love to swap queens. However, he loses time in retrieving the c5 pawn, although it's still playable. For example, queen takes d3. So let me go here. Queen takes d3. Knight takes d3, protecting the c5 pawn. Rook fc8. Bishop e3. Now it's becoming clearly a fight upon c5. Knight e4. f3. And now you get it back. Knight takes c5. Knight takes c5. Bishop takes c5. Bishop takes c5. Rook takes c5. Again, guys, remember now you are entering the endgame. No? And you enter the endgame with white that is in your 7th rank. Probably not the best idea. Rook ac8. Notice also this eerie attack. It didn't protect here. And c3. And now there is this move. Boom. Okay. Here Lakdawala gives you also this line, b5. It's I think the video is becoming very heavy because it's probably 1 hour that I'm talking. So let's just try to see what happens after this. This. And here the final evaluation by Lakdawala is and black should easily hold the position. Again, as you can see, we have studied the opening, but at a certain point you need to know also the endgame, because you need to know in which endgame you will end up, right? So let me return back a little so we see what we were doing. It's interesting how the king walked back toward the center. So more or less we were here, and we saw after d takes c5 that I ask you pause the video and try to guess what is the right move, because the right move is not queen takes d3 but queen c7. Okay. Now we are queen e2, bishop takes c5. Now guys, we are at move 17. In the book there are obviously a lot of variation because it gives you a lot of options, but I believe that from this point on you just need to watch the game. Why? because otherwise you will not remember anything. If you lose too much yourself into the variation. And this is a problem some books have, because they continue to show you ideas, but for example, my energy after 1 hour that I study a position like this or I see a game, it's gone. So if you're not Kasparov, Fischer, or one of these guys that is typically really obsessed with chess, maybe at this point you're tired. So what do you think is white idea at this point? White idea is g4. He wants to attack, right? And here he says the strategist's greatest fear is an unforeseen circumstance, while the tactician fears lack of opportunity. It feels to me like white fits into the latter category. Let's see, it's interesting situation, right? Because there was another possibility here to play this knight g4. And you know why? Because after this, sorry, this I want to show it to you because it's kind of a middle game already. Oops. And here it says, white sacrifice is proven unsound, so don't fear ghosts, we should invite such sacrifices. Yeah, it was. Okay, so that was interesting, however, right? So let's go back, because otherwise we're wasting a lot of time. And also my time is of the essence, because once family wake up, I'm sorry, I must return to my life. Okay, so we are in this situation where white played g4 instead of trying to create a sacrifice place, right? So after g4, rook a c8, because this is trying to open the file, c3, knight d5, attacking again, and king b1. So here ask this, should black accept the pawn offer? Probably not. He says black should decline. Okay. Because here you can play this, bishop takes f2, queen takes f2, queen takes e5. But it doesn't make sense because you want to attack, right? So that's why knight d5 makes more sense. King b1. And now again, there is the right move to play. What would you play here? Because sometimes some players are kind of greedy and they think about this, but it's not the right way to go. I can show you why it's not the right way to go, but I would prefer you guys do your own homework. Instead, the move is this, bishop d6. But there is also another interesting move. Another move is this, knight e3. So as you can see already here, you have many possibilities that you can choose from and you should analyze. But try to analyze them now at home, because that will make you familiar with the position, and you will not waste time when you are playing over the board in a tournament. Because this is the situation in which you waste 15 minutes to think, should I play this? Should I play this? Should I play this? So if you get familiar with it now, you will not waste time later. And you will also show confidence, which could disrupt your opponent. Obviously, white is trying to go for this, right? So what should black play? Now, the best move probably was bishop takes e5. But as you can see, when you are playing over the board, not always works. And black played this, that was a dubious move. Why it's a dubious move? Because the idea is this, and it's too slow. So you should obviously watch what happens after this bishop takes e5, maybe analyze it with an engine and see why it's the best move, okay? So now let's try to finish to see this game. So after rook f e8, what does white do? Rook df1, which is also a dubious move. What was the best move? It was g5. So as you can see, we are at move 20, and already these two grandmasters, they lose the thread of the game. And that's kind of interesting, because, sorry, we have moved 22. If this happened to grandmasters, imagine what happens at the lower rated players. So again, what do you think black should do now? Black played b5, which is a great move. And of course, white made another dubious move, bishop c1. Frustration only builds if we are unwilling to vent it. White's last move is too slow. Okay. Instead, this could have been a faster reply, because again, you want to attack, no? He's attacking on one side, you attack on the other. And here there are, in fact, some interesting analysis, but it seems black is going to have the best for the analysis of 2017. Once more, guys, I tell you, at this point, you should check with a new engine, because you don't know if some new ideas came out. F6 is good, and there is this. Notice that here you could play probably, sorry, you could play probably this, right? Tuck and tuck. So with this queen c3, you win a pawn, but again, you are giving up on the attack. You want to win. If you exchange the queens, it's not a good idea, okay? So let's go back. It's f6, knight d3, and now black loses the advantage, because the right move was queen takes e3. But instead he played e5. F takes e5, bishop takes e5. As you can see, black is starting to have everything on the queen side. Queen f3. And what would you play now if you were black? Because the move is marked as good, and so probably you should pay attention to it. It's a critical moment. The right move is queen c4. Knight takes e5, rook takes e5. Obviously you don't open this, but you can enter, right? and rook e1. What do you think black is going to play now? Obviously, in this kind of position, you never stop attacking. You have a great position, you want to attack, right? So the move is b4. Rook takes e5. F takes e5. And rook d1. And here there is an exercise which is in calculation. White's need is substantial and his resources few. Black has free logical continuation. Rook d8, e4, and knight f6. And he must correctly appraise the details and pick a line. So, how do you pick a line? By the way, Keaton didn't get the right move, so you can be kind of happy if, like Keaton, you made a mistake. So the move he played was rook d8, which is not good. The right answer is knight f6. So let's see now why rook d8 is not so good. C takes b4, you see, so it took away the possibility to have a strong attack. That's interesting, because obviously, guys, if the rook was here, no, let's say he plays this, if you make a mistake like this, the game is over, no? So that's the important part of why you keep the tension, no? Instead, this doesn't do that practically, and gave the possibility to play this. And now there is king a1 and another imprecision, a dubious move. Also here you should pause the video and think what would you play if you were black. In the game, Keaton played rook f8, the right move was rook d6. Because lifting the rook helps to attack again. Instead, rook f8, let's see, was met by what? By a great move, which is queen a6. But as you can see now, there are so many possibilities that it's difficult to find the right move. Yeah. Again, knight b6 not so good, but it doesn't tell us what he should have played. And here queen e2 is also dubious. We are at great risk if we misrepresent the opponent's motivation. Their pretense of indifference should evaporate. Queen c4, queen takes c4, knight takes e4, and here white made a blunder. Notice we are at move 37, so it's possible he was in time's trouble. Obviously, it's clear, no? You play this because you think, I'm attacking both, but it seems it's not a good idea. Not a good idea. So what was the right move? The right move was rook e1. So why rook d4 is not the right move? Because you play rook f1. Boom. And now you must understand that how do you stop this? You can't, right? So rook takes e4, and here it seems that white resign after this move. Why? The line given is the following: e3, king e1, e2, and you still cannot play this because there is this behind. So rook e4, e1 queen, rook takes e1, rook takes e1, and the situation is hopeless for white. Summary: don't live in fear of white's g4 pawn storm. We hold adequate resources if we counter vigorously in the center. So guys, this is a kind of endgame, but also if Lakdawala says the situation is hopeless for white, you should play it against an engine like Stockfish at maximum strength, because it would tell you if you are actually able to convert this position into a win. In fact, Lasker, I think, was famous because he said the most difficult game is to win a game that is won, right? And so this is the situation. You have a won game, but are you able to win that end game? So this was C6 Opening Repertoire by Cyrus Lakdawala and Keaton Kiewra. I hope you like it. I will make more videos to show you this great book written in 2017, published by Everyman Chess.